I'm well. My little ones are starting to sleep in bigger chunks, so it's like a gray fog is slowly being lifted. I backed my car out of the garage the other day and just clipped off the rearview mirror because I hadn't slept in like 3 days.
Oh, my,
Just completely nuked it. Didn't
my
even
dad did
stop.
that. My dad did that when we were kids. He was in a bad mood one morning, and he would always leave at like 6:30 in the morning for work. And
Yep.
he just slammed that thing in reverse and floored it. And he rocked the side of the garage so hard with that mirror that the whole house shook. It was
I was just
unbelievable.
so tired. I had gotten like 5 hours of sleep over the last 3 days, and I
Yeah.
just nuked it. So yeah, man. Other than that, doing good. So
Shouldn't your vehicle be smart enough to back
should.
itself out or
I mean,
something like
it
that?
theoretically, I don't know. Dude, I was so tired. I'm just now like not in the pain cave. I'm only like mildly in pain. So we're getting
Mm,
there. I mean, if we get
yeah.
up twice in a night, it's a great night. So
How many weeks old?
um it's almost 6 months.
Okay.
So they're emerging from it. So today we are talking about marketing. Why don't you tee us off since you had a lot of energy when we started
Yeah.
bantering in the
Let's
pre-show?
get into it right off the rip. So I was just talking with Andrew, my marketing guy, who does all marketing for me across multiple businesses now. And we were discussing the fact we've been running these client and prospect webinars at RL once a month all year. So we've done 7 of them now. And by the way, I just came off a live webinar that I did for sort of my other audience, which is property management business owners. And we had 250 live attendees
Yeah,
on this
yeah, it's
webinar,
different. We're gonna talk about this. That's
which I
so
just spun up
duh.
in 2 seconds. It was
Yeah.
a spur of the moment thing. It was like barely promoted. Meanwhile, we've been running this webinar at RL Property Management for property owners all year, every month, heavily promoted across multiple channels. And it's crickets. We get maybe 20 live attendees. Half of them are my employees. We get another 15 replays or whatever. And so I was just talking with him, like, I'm really feeling like this isn't worth it. And I started pulling a couple threads together. One is our outbound marketing efforts also stopped working completely, if they ever were. So we've shut off our outbound marketing motion. And we also experimented with a couple different sort of like deadline driven sales tactics once we got on the phone with somebody. And my BDM, my salesperson, reports that they really didn't move the needle at all. She tried a couple different things in a few different ways, and she's just like, it's just not, some of these people signed up, but I could tell they were going to sign up anyway, and other people just it bounced right off of them. So I was kind of relaying this back to you that we're sort of making this discovery that it seems like when someone's ready to hire a property manager, they are ready to hire a property manager. But if they're not like actively searching and Googling for property managers, no amount of cold calling or education is going to convince them to sign up if they're not at that point. And you said something kind of funny right in reply, which I thought was great, which was what? You're muted.
You can't cold call somebody and say, "Hey, do you have any leaky pipes?"
Yeah, it's just fun. That's such a funny image. The idea of plumbing companies cold calling, like,
Hey,
"Hey,
anything leaking?
how's your plumbing? I mean, is it? I mean, you sure? I don't know. Like,
Yeah, do you want to check?
yeah, you want us to
Right?
come by and just look everything?
Yeah. But it's reductum ad absurdum, right? Which is reduced to
Okay,
absurdity.
Latin,
Yeah, it's reductum ad absurdum. I think it's
reduced to the
reductum ad
point of
absurdum.
absurdity. Yeah.
Correct. It's what lawyers do, which is so you're telling me that based on this logic, and then they take it all the way to the logical, it's a rhetorical device, right? It's the same idea. And so I think there are lots of implications for this dynamic, even so much as that dynamic that you mentioned is actually one of the reasons why people acquire property management companies because inorganic growth is easier than demand generation in property management. So you're better off just acquiring 150 door chunks than you are versus something like, say, solar, where there is demand generation. You can do door knocking and cold calling and direct mail. It's less. I think this isn't real. This may or may not be a real world acquisitive. Is acquisitive a word, or did I make
Acquisitive
that
is a
up?
word. Yes.
Meaning there are less acquisitions in certain parts of the ecosystem because you just, dude, I'd rather just go hire 15 cold callers and rip the neighborhood. I don't need to buy the customers from you.
Yeah.
Right. Also, given the nature of the revenue, is it recurrent or reoccurrent or project based? So I think there's a lot of implications to the way that you acquire customers, like what channels you use, what your CAC to LTV is, what your intro offer is, what your value. I mean, all that stuff. I think it all comes from that core premise.
Yeah. Property management has a really long payback period as well. Thinking about other scenarios like realtors cold call.
Yeah.
And one would think that the idea of selling your home would not be affected in any meaningful way by a cold call from a realtor you've never
Well, it
met.
could though. Hey, we see lots of buyers in your area. Would you be open?
Yeah,
I mean, I could see that.
yeah, but the other thing about that I think makes that work out is that the payback period is so fast. Like if someone is going to sell their home and you
Yeah.
end up getting a listing agreement after 2 weeks and they sell it 60 days later, you make all your money and then some. Whereas
Yeah.
in property management, um,
Unless you
the
charge leasing fees, which you don't do.
well, leasing fees help for sure. But even
How
then, I
far?
mean,
P.S.
yeah,
I am not a property manager, and I now know that you can
yeah,
recover your cat quickly with leasing. I don't even
correct.
know, barely know what that means, but I've talked to you so much at this
Hmm.
point.
But
So continue.
even then, you're still talking about a multi-year payback period because our monthly fee is so small
Yeah.
relative to the effort expended. I always use a back of the envelope estimation that we lose money the first year we manage any property. I
Is
don't
that
care that
true?
I didn't care
Wow.
any of the details. It's years 2 through 5 that we actually turn a profit. So
Wow. That's crazy, but it's super sticky, right? I mean,
super sticky.
your
Yeah.
annual renewals are super high, and so it's like easy come, easy go,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
I mean, I think the dynamics of that too, and I was talking about this on the last pod, which hasn't been published yet, just on my Twitter with Isaac Zimmerman, who runs J. Blanton Plumbing, a very successful plumbing company that he's grown. Um, I used this analogy with him in the last episode about the difference between home services and home improvement, and I said this is so everybody uses those interchangeably, and that's really dumb. Home services, I'm going to speak broadly here. Home services, electrical, plumbing, HVAC, um, even a handyman you could put in home services. Okay. Here's the hard part about home services. You have to meet the demand, right? Meaning when they need a plumber at
Fast.
2 in the morning,
It's
you better
extremely
get a
time sensitive.
locksmith,
Yeah.
right? Extremely time sensitive. Generally speaking, the constraint is skilled labor. You only
Hmm.
have so many electricians, so many plumbers, so many whatever. So you have to be open to that game. And generally speaking, it's lower ticket, right? But it's usually a need, not a want. And they're valued, they tend to be valued higher because there's more recurrent revenue models associated with it's just, once you get somebody on an HVAC maintenance plan, they're not fucking going anywhere,
Hmm.
right? Broadly, not 100% of the time, but broadly speaking, I would argue that is a search driven. People are problem aware, and then they go out looking for the solution. And that is things like Google PPC. So the clicks are more expensive. Property Manager Columbus, Ohio is an expensive click. But when somebody clicks that, they're not there looking for a Buick,
Yeah.
right? They're there. They are problem aware and they're like solution shopping and they're going to make a decision by today. Right. So you have to kind of be there. Now, the way you grow those companies, which our friend Rich Jordan has done, one of the ways, other than meeting demand, of course, is branding, which is we do billboards so that when they're driving, they're like, shit, my air conditioner has been making a rattling sound. And you blow out brand, because you can't do just direct response marketing for the exact reason you said. Comparatively, home improvement, which is what I did, is not necessary. That's kitchen cabinets, that's
Decks,
decks,
patios,
that's patios,
pools.
garages,
Yeah.
all that stuff. That to me, way higher ticket, meaning it's a 30G, it's a 50G,
Yeah,
right? It's
definitely.
usually project based. There are less demands on skilled labor, usually, right? It's easier to get cabinet installers than it is to get a master HVAC technician, broadly
You can
speaking.
schedule it out.
Schedule it out, but it's demand creation, which is in many cases, they're not even problem aware.
Yep.
So there is some traffic when people say, new deck San Diego, there's some traffic there, but your real thing is agitating the pain through things like Facebook, which is like, we ran a campaign at Garage Excel, which is, do you have garage embarrassment syndrome? And it was, afraid to open up your garage door, your neighbors will judge you, call the experts, be proud of your garage. They didn't know that they needed a new garage until I said, look at this ugly garage, you hoarder. And that is a much more marketing heavy game, much more sales focused, doing things like price drops and, 2-for-1s. You don't do that shit with plumbing. In plumbing, it's like, yeah, dude, I unclogged your drain. And by the way, do you want like a maintenance plan? So it's a less sales intensive exercise.
Yeah.
But that's
Yeah.
that's a broadly like a very rough way that I think about it. And there's advantages and disadvantages of both. I actually think the best thing is to pair the first with the second. So if I would have stayed in the garage business, I was going to start a handyman business. I was going to start a handyman business because there's unlimited demand for handymen, and use that just as lead gen for the garage business,
Hmm.
and say like, look, I keep my handyman busy. And as they're walking through the house, you go, oh, by the way, I noticed your garage is dirty. Do you want a free design? And so I can run that at even because it's easier to get in the house like that, and then run that at even or at a small margin, which is never that exciting of a concept. Who the hell cares about handyman? But if 1 out of 10 appointments, they generate a $30,000 garage sale at 60% gross margins, that is a take over the world model.
Yeah.
So that's how that's like a broad based way of how I think about this, at least in our sector, which is kind of like stuff in the home improvement-y. I'm sure that I'm kind of butchering some of the concepts, but whatever. This is how I think about it. I'm doing this off the top of my head.
Yeah, that all makes sense. And hearing you distill it that way, it's so clear. And I sort of wish I could have read something about this a long time ago, because what ends up happening is when you're operating in an industry like I did in property management, you're just you only ever run into other property managers for the most part, and they don't have the context to articulate what you just did, because
Mm.
they've not operated across multiple sectors. And so we have ideas about things that work in marketing and things that don't, but we don't have the broader context into which we can hang those ideas. And more importantly, we then don't have the larger layer of understanding that would allow us to innovate in marketing very effectively. Instead, we kind of go down these blind alleys like outbound marketing, figure out it doesn't work, and then every 5 years, some guy tries it again and posts about it. And like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I wish there
Yeah,
was like
you're not going to find the answer within property management. That's what
right.
you're saying. You're going to
Yeah.
find the answer to a new channel in something Rich is doing or something I'm doing or something. It's not going to be within that because it's time tested, right? Or
Yeah.
it's those are kind of well-worn paths, I'd say. You have to
Yeah,
kind of
and
go outside,
anything that works gets
competed away.
immediately vacuumed up, and
Yeah.
it's all absorbed into the capitalistic soup of competitive, dynamics. And
Although less so with
yeah,
geographically bound businesses. It's in something like global talent, absolutely, where it's the internet. There's no real, geographic, but something. I mean, how many sophisticated marketers in the Columbus property management market are there?
well, what's going on right now though is, and has been for years, these large
Oh,
groups,
consolidators. Yeah. Yeah.
consolidators, they have a presence now. The largest one has a presence in over 50 markets,
Yeah.
including Columbus. And so when the big dog starts doing an A, B, or C marketing tactic, it immediately reverberates throughout many local markets, and then everyone has to end up adapting. So the cycle is much faster now, I think, than it used to be.
I think that we're going to circle back to a concept I talked about though, but even that to me is an opportunity in terms of market development in that, and I wrote a newsletter about this, but we've talked about this, which is like the 3 value disciplines about customer intimacy, product innovation, or operational excellence, which is, okay, you're tracking these competitors and you're seeing that they're doing a lot of billboards. They're not idiots. And so if billboards work, I think you have to ask yourself the question, how well do you stack up to them? Because if they crack a channel, one of the best places for you to find new channels is them. And you look at them and they're like, wow, they're at every farmer's market. They're at every farmer's market. They have a 25-year-old person just handing out flowers at farmer's market. That's probably because it's working for them. And we know that toe to toe on a bake off, we kick their ass because we're local, we're 20 years old and they're a year old, whatever. And so at least depending on how you feel like you position against them, that's also a wonderful source of channels is the consolidators, right? Like Sagan has stayed off Facebook because I've watched Huber try to make Facebook ads work for 3 years. I watched them turn it on and then I watch them run a bunch of ad sets and then I watch them turn it all off because it's just like, we're doing as Facebook because we need to grow beyond Huber's Twitter. And then I watch them after about 60 days, turn them all off. And then they try new ones every time and it doesn't work. I'm watching them do it in real time. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't just watch them. We have an organization that does this.
But how, no, it's just you, just 15 monitors, all Huber's Facebook. Yeah.
It's not just Huber, by the way, but we watch them
Yeah.
because we want to see what they're doing.
But how do you distinguish between a company that's doing what you just described, which is kind of shot in the dark or spaghetti on the wall, versus a channel that's actually working for them?
Lindy, how long have they been doing it for?
Okay.
That's easy. That's super easy. You don't do it the first time, which is it's a Facebook ad that got posted 3 days ago. It's an ad set that you've been seeing for the last year, and they've just been running variations on that. You don't run Facebook
Okay.
clicks for a year, so it's all how long they've been running it for, not the first instance.
Yeah.
But that's like a good competitive intelligence program. The thing too that's just a review here, and I think you know this, of course, but in case people listening don't, unaware of the problem, problem aware, information gathering stage, top of mind. That is the journey of a buyer. So unaware of the problem. Did you know this? Why are you
I have
smiling?
something funny to report. I have to interject.
Okay, please.
Having done nothing, Facebook is now working and we have 4 live viewers.
Okay.
So the secret is just do nothing and it actually works. So hello to everyone watching live. We have 2 live viewers on my YouTube as well.
Oh, got it. Okay, cool. All right. I didn't understand what you're saying. Okay. I making sure that you understand when you're looking at your ICP or your avatar, which I use interchangeably, which I shouldn't, but are they unaware of the problem? They didn't even realize that they need property management. They're problem aware, which is my cell phone's been bugging off the hook. I really need a property manager. Are they solution aware, which is I'm shopping and I've called 3 other Columbus area property managers, or like I'm buying and it's just, and so I think your messaging needs to be your messaging needs to be, it's very different based on where you think the majority I suspect your folks are probably solution aware. They understand that property management by a third party is a thing, right? So when you market to them, you're not trying to bring new people into the property management market, right?
There's a fantastic image that shows this. It's called the buyer's pyramid.
Yep.
I'm gonna pull it up right now and just share it because I think it's really relevant. And this is what I had been thinking about when I was starting to do cold calling and stuff. Is I was like, okay, great. The 3%, those are the people that are reaching out to us, and we're
Yep.
getting calls inbound, from the 3%. I want to get in front of the 7% and the 30%. How can I do cold calling or do outbound or do, webinars, educational content to try and reach these people? That was my thought process, and it seemed really well thought out. And there's a bunch of other thought leaders in our space who have kind of rearticulated the same thing, but it just didn't work. And so I think this goes back to what we were saying earlier about like I was trying it because I'd heard about other people in my industry and they showed this graphic and I was like, yeah, that makes logical sense. But when you say plumbers don't cold call and say, do you have a leaky pipe? I'm like, okay, I get it. Like there's nuance here that isn't captured in this image.
But here, I don't want to say but let's tease that idea a little bit, because there are absolutely other ways to do this. Meaning you can build your database or you can even make money with